When was the first time you got busted? Like, when did the wheels fall off and you went all in on the con shit?
I had a broker that used to work for me. Her name was Gretchen Zayas, and she and her husband, Peter Zayas, they started their own company called Creative Financing. Come on, man.
That's a pretty catchy name. You don't think so?
I mean, it screams we'll do whatever we need to get done, So
yeah,
and they would. So they ended up doing a bunch of loans from what I believe were a couple of Italian guys, and they were jacking up the prices on some houses and pulling out cash, right? Like cashback scam. It's a cashback scam.
The Italian guys were, or Gretchen and her husband?
No, Gretchen Peter just doing the loans.
Oh, okay.
They're but they're charging these outrageous fees, $30,000 broker fees, $15,000. I mean, just these people.
Sure.
Because they know what's going on.
Yeah, what are they going to say?
Yeah, what are you going to do? Who else is going to help you do what you're doing? The whole thing was these guys have to at least make a few payments or it's going to look suspicious. These are $500,000, $1 million houses, right? 1.5 million. These are huge houses. They made a bunch of money, but these guys never made a payment. The house is going to foreclosure. FBI gets involved. FBI comes by. They end up questioning Pete and Gretchen. Gretchen comes to me. No, Pete comes to me and asks me if I'll refinance their house to get them. They need $75,000 to pay for a criminal defense attorney. I say absolutely, of course. I refinanced their house using fake W-2s and pay stubs that they gave me.
They knew they were fake.
They knew they were fake. They gave them the W-2s and pay stubs. They verified their own employment. So we do that, and I get them $75,000. They give it to a defense attorney, and immediately the defense attorney says, "You need to wear a wire on this guy."
Sure.
Not only did this guy just help pay me my $75,000, so he's helping to get you an attorney, he's also going to help you not get any time. So they end up wearing a wire on me and questioning me about. They don't question me. They just basically say, "Hey, by the way, when the FBI came in and raided our office, they got a hold of some of your loans." Because I'd done some loans for my ex-wife, my wife at the time. I'd done some of the loans that we'd used to buy properties, we'd done through their company. Because I own the mortgage company, it's a conflict of interest for me.
Sure.
So I did the whole loan, but then we closed them through Gretchen. Well, Gretchen had access to those files, gave them to the FBI. So she told me the FBI got those files and now they're asking questions about you and your ex-wife. And I immediately buried myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, you didn't tell them the W-2s and pay stubs were fake, did you? You didn't tell them. And I just say everything. And so I realized that I'm being bugged. There's a wire. And so I go back to my office, and the FBI agent calls me at my office and says, "Oh, we'd like you to come in. I think you know what this is about." I was like, yeah, I'll come in on Tuesday. And I end up going and getting a federal defense attorney. I pay him $75,000. He pleads me guilty to one count of wire fraud.
All right, so you said that you figured out that you were like being tapped or whatever by Gretchen, like wearing a wire.
Yeah.
How did you figure that out? Like, at that time, like while you're sitting there talking with her, you're like, "Oh shit, they're wearing a wire." Like, was it like that?
Yeah.
How?
It was exactly. What had happened? What had happened was I was sitting at the table with them at a pizzeria, and so while we're talking,
an Italian pizzeria.
While we're talking,
it's kind of funny because she had two Italian clients that are going to bring you down.
That's not. It was their clients. So while we're sitting there talking, and she says, "Hey, they raided the office. They got your stuff there. And now they're asking questions." I was like, whoa. And as I'm explaining the W-2s and pay stubs, I said, I started formulating a story that they could tell the FBI. I'm like, okay, listen, here's what you're going to tell them. And as soon as I start telling them, you're going to tell them this, you're going to tell them that, they go, whoa, we can't lie to the FBI. We can't, we're going to get ourselves in even more trouble. And I went, what are you talking about? I said, you've been lying to them. And I'm like, I just refinanced your house using fake W-2s. You know what I'm saying? And as I'm kind of getting into that, Pete stands up and says, "We've never lied to the FBI. We may not have told them everything, but we never lied." And I remember looking at him like, "What the fuck are you talking to?" Because I know that's not true.
Right.
So you're not saying that for my benefit. And then I thought, oh, fuck. And Gretchen damn sure knows That's not that she knows that's not true. So you're not saying this for me or her. You're saying it for somebody else. And so I immediately was like, oh, fuck. I remember too, for some reason, and this probably has nothing to do with anything, but I remember suddenly being very keenly aware that both of their cell phones were sitting right next to me. It's like they placed their cell phones across the table right next to me. And I was like, huh, like I was like, fuck, those things are probably, those are probably the mics. I don't know whether they were or not, but the point is that I stood up and I was like, just looked at her and I was like, wow. I was like, I hope you get something for this. And she said, I don't have to go to jail. And she's like, Matt, I got a kid. And I was like, I don't have a kid. I was like, all right. And I just turned around and I left. I went back to the office. I called the FBI agent, said, I'll come in. He said, okay. I said, I'll come in on Tuesday. No, I didn't call him. I'm sorry. The FBI agent called me and I said, Tuesday, I'll come in on Tuesday. I immediately went out and found a defense attorney, gave him $75,000. That seems to be what they want from brokers. He then started talking to the FBI and the U.S. attorney. He negotiates a plea for me to take a plea of 3 years. I get 3 years probation. What's funny is that he told me, he's like, listen, like they don't really have anything on you specifically. It's your wife that signed all the papers. He's like, I mean, how close are you to your wife? He goes, because he said, it was like that. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. He said, I could keep you from being indicted. We could try and do a pretrial intervention where, and I was like, what does that mean? He said, well, first of all, like I said, you didn't sign anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, I understand you set up the deal, but it makes you look pretty good. Like, I didn't sign anything. It's like, my wife did some stuff. Like, they don't have me saying exactly what I did other than knowing my wife had fake W-2s and pay stubs. Like,
sure.
You see what I'm saying? Like, they don't know that. I didn't say anything really that discriminating against or that incriminating against me. So he said you could go into the office, get like 10 or 20 of your most egregious files from your mortgage brokers, go to the FBI, explain what they've done, work with them to bust your mortgage brokers. And I could probably keep you from being indicted at all. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm not, I was like, I'm like, you want me to like cooperate against them, like snitch them out? And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. If I had known then what I know now, I would have shown up at the Friday meeting in a pickup truck and a dolly, and I would have grabbed all the files and loaded them up in the back of the pickup truck with everybody watching and said, you're probably going to be contacted by the FBI. Yeah. I suggest you get an attorney. And I would have driven straight to the FBI building in downtown Tampa on Gray Street. And I would have walked in and wheeled them in and slowly gone through every single file and buried every single broker I had.
Because at that time, even though you were committing some fraud, you still had this loyalty to the people you were working with, right?
I still thought that these people were like my friends.
Yeah.
I thought there were friends. I thought there was, I just didn't, I don't want to say it was a street code because I didn't really know about a street code. But I just didn't want to get them in trouble, and they wouldn't do that to me, and not realizing that they all did that to me. They were all ready to do that.
Eventually, everybody flipped on you to save their ass.
Right. So
there is no loyalty among thieves.
No. And, the more I learn about it, the more you realize, like, from the top upper echelons of the mob and the cartels, everybody's cooperates. It's the guy who's selling, rocks on the corner that thinks there's a code that takes it on the chin and goes to prison for 20 years.
It's always the low level dude, man.
Yeah. He's the fucking guy who's like, I ain't gonna stitch on nobody.
He's the stubborn one.
And there's I met all kinds of guys in prison who were stand-up guys doing 30 years, begging, washing people's shoes so that for honey buns. Nobody comes to visit him. Nobody remembers him. But they're stand-up guys.
Yeah.
So anyway, I end up saying, I'm not going to do that. So I take the plea. I take a 3-year plea, and I get 3 years. for wire fraud.
Hey, what's up guys? My name is Todd Poltz and I want to first say thank you for watching this episode. I have built a massive real estate empire in multiple multi-million-dollar companies here in the state of Ohio. And my goal is each week to bring you powerful conversations with some of the most successful, creative entrepreneur minds from around the country. But I need you to do me a favor right now and take time to subscribe to this channel, click the button to get notified on all future episodes, and click right here for the next episode.